All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you're having a great afternoon or evening or wherever you are. I hope you're having a great day. We are broadcasting worldwide from Southern California 3 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So thank you for joining us. Today is Wednesday, October 3rd already, 2012. And this is episode number 16. So you can find it at extremehealthradio.com/16. And just to let you know, all of our shows are transcribed and there are show notes. So you can find all that information on this show page. So if you would like to email our guest and ask a question or ask a question to me, you can do so at justin@extremehealthradio.com. Or you could call in at 949-391-7363 and leave a voicemail, and we'll play that voicemail on the air. And this episode is brought to you by the Vitamix blender, which is my favorite blender. We use it, my wife and I use it 3 days a week, and it's just an amazing machine, and we could not live without it. So if you're in the market to buy a Vitamix, please do it through us, and we'll get a little commission. You could check that out at extremehealthradio.com/Vitamix. And before I introduce our guest, Wendy Wilson from Apothecary Herbs, I just want to give you a brief rundown of our upcoming schedule. This week, we've got lots of great guests. Our next guest on Friday is Dr. Gerald Smith. He's a biological dentist out of, I believe it's New York, and he's doing a lot of great work with root canals and showing the connection between root canals and cancer. And he's doing amazing work out there. So check out that show. And we've got Dr. Bob Marshall, who's an amazing doctor out of Austin, Texas. And his website is healthline.cc. He's got a great radio show as well. And we've got Dr. Charles Partito, who is the owner of Ejuva, the Ejuva Cleanse. And he'll be talking about the health of the colon and cleansing herbs and all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned for those shows. I want to introduce Wendy Wilson. She wrote a how-to book called The Power Herbs, 13 Herbs Every Medicine Cabinet Should Have. And I have that book. It's about 300 pages. It's absolutely incredible. I was just going through it last night. And she wanted to reveal that herb secrets that she had learned from traditional training and practical experience, and that there's a high demand for knowledge on how to use these herbs and natural therapies effectively. And this Power Herb book shows you how to do that. And then in 2000, Wendy founded the Apothecary Herbs, Inc., which manufactures professional strength, immune boosting, and body cleansing formulas. And she enjoys writing her health column for various newsletters, including the International Forecaster and Health Quest. And she produces her own nationally syndicated radio talk show called Herb Talk Live on GCN, which you can find at gcnlive.com, or all of the archives are on her shows. And Wendy, I was just listening to a lot of your shows last night. It's a great show you have.
We have great fun. You know, you gotta enjoy what you do and be passionate. Otherwise, just hang it up and find something else.
I saw in your bio you like Taekwondo.
Yeah. I just, into yoga and turbo fire is my newest thing. I get bored, so I got to find new stuff,
That's great. So the book that you wrote, the 13 Herbs Every Medicine Cabinet Should Have, I have that, and thank you for that. And is there a place where people can buy that on your website?
Yeah, it's a PDF. It's not in print right now. I went through 2 printings, but you can, if you got to have a hard copy, you can find it on Amazon. I think they are $1,000 for a hard copy, used one on Amazon, which blows my mind. But
wow.
But you could, yeah, I know. So, but you could get a PDF version that is emailed to you on our website at thepowerherbs.com, and it's just $14.99.
Yeah, that book is really great. I was going through it the last few days, and you've got almost every kind of issue. You've got like hormone health, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, we cover. Well, I found out. I was in herb school. You could go all kinds of ways with herbs. You can make really great sundry items and stuff. But I've really felt, Justin, that a majority of the problems that we face is, a cleansing issue and an immune system issue. Mm-hmm. So a lot of preventable types of conditions stem from those areas. And I thought, well, that is, if you cleanse and nourish the body, you got most things whooped. That's how I look at it.
Right.
And you know, and we've got generation after generation now that have what I consider immune systems that are in wheelchairs. They can't get up and fight. They can't run the marathon because of vaccines and antibiotics and things like that. And we've got such a problem with the superbugs. And a lot of the pharmaceuticals have pretty much abandoned researching new antibiotics for more of, antiviral products, genetically modified foods, and even new vaccines. So we're kind of like left holding the bag. So we're going to have to strengthen our immune systems if we're going to survive. We are.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. I know that you went to a school, I forget what it's called, by that was started from Dr. David Christopher. Is that right?
Well, Dr. John Christopher David's the son. He now runs the school. It's the School of Natural Healing in Springville, Utah. I highly recommend it. If some of your listeners out there have a desire to be more proactive and self-sufficient, they do have a lot of classes online now, and you can even take mail order classes if you're not close to the location in Utah. So it's a great school. They have different levels of instruction from just your family health, if you want to just help your own self and your family out, to all the way to master herbalist. So you can kind of pick which area you want to learn about.
Wow, that's great. So you've been practicing herbalism now for about 10 years?
No, it's getting closer to 20.
20, okay.
I started the business in 2000, but I was, in school and helping family and friends, the people on our soccer team and taekwondo. And I just decided, herbs are the best kept secret. I'm going to do something about that.
Right.
And so, we and it was as you see in the book, I tell a true story of how I got into the herbs, because I have 3 kids, and one of my youngest of 3 got sick, and modern medicine didn't really have any answers for me. So I turned to natural healing and was very impressed with how well he did. So I decided to go to school. Wow,
that's amazing. So you completely changed your entire career.
I did, I started out at the University of North Carolina as, a psych major, got a degree in that, and was intending to go further in that area. But then I started a family, was married, so here comes baby number 1. And then in the interim, I kind of worked in between children in the medical field. Learned a lot, saw a lot, some of the stuff you don't even know about, and scary. And then I decided, there's got to be something better. And then my son got sick, and then, I guess God's answer to prayer, here's the solution, go out there, and tell the world about it.
That's great. So what are some ways that you incorporate herbs into your daily, your daily lifestyle?
Oh, yeah. Before I do my Turbo Fire, I'll power up with my Heart Formula and my Willow Bark and Meadowsweet Formula, which is our anti-inflammatory pain reliever, so you don't stress anything. If I do overdo it, we do tend to, think we're bigger than we are. And I got a great rub that I made when I was in Taekwondo classes, Circle of Death. You get your butt whooped. You got to have something. So it's a deep tissue rub. So I'll use that. And of course, my all-around body food mix is really a great thing. It's all plant-based, and it's a powder. You throw it into your favorite juice and vegetable, citrus, water if you want. And it's got your vitamins, your minerals, there's your plant protein elements in there. And it's the best part, it's water-soluble, and it's right in the system in 60 seconds, I don't know about you. When you were growing up, did you take vitamins, Justin?
Oh, yeah. We took those rock hard, pressed tablets.
I just can't handle it. My mom was a health nut. Being from California, from Los Angeles, she was into her lecithin and all her vitamins and her bone meal, and of course us kids had to do that too. And I can't swallow any more pills. It's just not natural to me. If you can't get what you need in your diet, then you may have to supplement. But I like the liquids and I like the powders because they can become water soluble and they're right in the system in 60 seconds, and you can adjust the dose real easy, and there's nothing to digest. It's really easy on the system. So that's why when I started Apothecary Herbs, I said, we're just going to do liquids and powders. And as we get older, our elderly can't swallow those pills. You know what I mean? They just can't.
Yeah. So what are some of the traditional ways people use herbs? I know there's infusions, there's teas, and then what other ways are there?
Well, you've got a lot of versions. The delivery system, as we call it, your tea or what is an infusion. That's going to be your weakest potency. If you are going to use a tea as a medicinal approach, do let it brew about 20 minutes, and that will make a good, strong tea. Okay. And some herbs are better while you're water soluble in an infusion, and some are better when we age them in a catalyst like alcohol, and we use it as a tincture, as a concentrate.
Okay.
So your tea will be weaker than your tinctures, and when I tell people, they go, well, how can a quarter of a teaspoon of this liquid herb stuff called a tincture do any good? And I'm like, well, think of that commercial for Special K cereal, and they have all the bowls of shredded wheat stacked up over here, and then you got the one bowl of Special K. Your tincture is like the Special K. Okay. So it's really powerful if it's made right. And there's a way to make them really strong, and then your capsules and your pills are kind of in between your tea and your tincture as far as potency goes. But it takes longer for the body to metabolize that. Okay.
Now, in your daily life, do you do all three, or do you just strictly stick with the? I stay with teas. I love tea. I'm a big tea person, and I like my tinctures. And the only capsule that we actually make at Apothecary Herbs is for our bowel cleanser Formula A, and that's to kind of move the bowels, stimulate, tone those nerve endings and the bowel muscle up. And the reason we use it in a capsule form is because there's some herbs in there that have some heat to them. In other words, they're hot. They're the cayenne are in there. So, but other than that, I'm a tincture, powdered mix kind of person, and a tea. I like it liquid. I like it. It's more portable into the system, and it's just gentler. Right. Yeah. With the tinctures, it's funny. I've been really wanting to make some tinctures for many years, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I bought this Square One cucumber flavored vodka, 80 proof. It's been sitting on top of my refrigerator for 2 years, and I just haven't been had the ability to make it yet. Now, is 80 proof the type of vodka that people that people should use?
Yeah, actually, there's a section in my book where it shows you how to make your own tinctures if you want to learn to do that. And 80 proof is excellent. I use vodka. The Everclear, the 100 proof or stronger, you want to reserve those for like resinous type of herbs, like barks of trees. So, it's really not necessary. It's overkill if you want to make like an echinacea type of tincture. Just use your 80 proof vodka. That's perfectly fine. And there's a whole section on how to do that in the Power Herbs ebook if you want to learn how to do that.
Oh, great. I'm going to skip to that portion because that ebook is, it's so great. It's like 380 pages. It's amazing.
Right. Now, that's a PDF, and if folks out there, kind of want to be traditional and print it off, you can do that, but make sure when you order it, you tell us you want the printable version, and we'll send that along as well. For those of you that can't print it off, just let us know if you have a print copy center nearby, and we can email it to them, and you can just pick it up there. They'll print it off for you. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, that book is really, really good. I wanted to ask you, too, about... let's say someone's going to be traveling and they want to boost their immune system. Last time I went to Australia with my wife, I got sick on the plane. And so if people are trying to avoid things like that, what types of herbs, would they take to prevent that? Oh, absolutely. If you're going to be traveling, especially overseas on those long flights, what you can do is if you're planning ahead, you're going a week or so before. I like to, this 2 weeks before, start powering up the immune system, because you're going to be, you're in cabin air and there's all kind of pathogens in there. So, use your echinacea and your astragalus root and things like that, and ginseng to power up your immune system. And if jet lag's going to be an issue, make sure you get some natural calcium into the system so that it doesn't disrupt your biological clock. And you're going to find that in plants, not dairy products, because the body's kind of picky on how it utilizes calcium for strong bones, muscle, and connective tissue. Our body likes 2 parts calcium, 1 part boron, 1 part magnesium, and your dairy products don't have that balance. What you'll see in dairy products, Justin, is 10 parts calcium and a little bit of boron and no magnesium. So your plants, your fruits and vegetables, and some of your herbs, when you look at them and they have calcium, they'll always have that perfect ratio. So God did that, and we don't have to actually do anything except use them.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. And so as far as calcium goes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read somewhere recently that calcium is sort of like the end chain byproduct of silica and magnesium. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, if you look at your whole plant sources for nutritional elements like calcium or iron or any of those elements, they're going to have uptake requirements, okay? And that's why, I trust the natural plant sources, because they're going to have those, like your body needs that 1 part boron and magnesium, so it can port that calcium to those areas of the body that utilize calcium. So when you don't have that ratio balance, what happens is any calcium that you will absorb, which will be anywhere from 10 to 20%, you won't get a whole lot, it can be displaced, and you can get bone spurs, you can get gallstones, you can get, if you got plaque forming in the arteries and veins, it'll stick to that and make really strong arterial blockages for you.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, I err on the natural side when I can, because when you look at a lot of these supplements out there, they got fillers in them, and a lot of those fillers create allergic reactions for folks. So I'm kind of a purist, if you will, and we send out, actually, at Apothecary Herbs, we'll send out food lists based on nutrition elements you think you need help with. In other words, let's say you called me and you said, I'm having some trouble with iron. What can I eat for iron? And we'll send you this list of foods with organic iron, and beetroot is excellent. Your beets are excellent. So if anybody out there has got an anemic issue, people who don't want to have transfusions, you can build up the blood system in 24 hours by juicing some raw beets.
Oh, wow.
And you've got that wonderful Vitamix. I got one of those. I love those things. And what you could do is throw some raw beets, put the greens in too. Go ahead, throw it all in there. You can quarter them up, cut them up a little bit. Throw in some water, swish it around, purify it, and then strain out the bulky part and drink the juice. The juice is where it's at. The body doesn't have to work so hard absorbing the enzymes out of the juice, but it will have to work hard if you put that pulp in there.
Yeah, the Vitamix is great too for that reason, because I'll take a little nut milk bag, and you got an instant juicer. If you take it on the road, you got a blender and a juicer. It's just great.
I know. I mean, I got several of those things. I got a Champion juicer. That's my best friend too. I love that thing. Strong motor, easy to clean.
Right.
Who wants to pick pulp out of parts? Nobody.
I hear you. So I wanted to stick a little bit on this calcium issue too, because there have been people I know that recommended, infusions. I know Susan Weed talks about doing a nettle root, comfrey, linden flower, oat straw, and red clover. And apparently that's supposed to help with osteoporosis. And that's a good blend. I like it. Okay.
Yeah, she's named several of the herbs we use in our calcium formula. Plus, she's got a blood purifier in there.
Oh, great. Which one is the blood purifier?
It's the red clover.
Oh, really? Okay. And so, what products do you have for osteoporosis?
Well, we have that calcium formula, which is excellent. We had locally a lady at our post office A lot of the ex-military wind up working for the post office, sometimes. And she was real close to retirement, and she had a bone density test, and they scared the bejeebies out of her, saying that, her bones were like Swiss cheese. She's got to get on this Foxamax right away. And bless her heart, she did her homework on the medication and scared her that she didn't like the side effects. So she pulled me aside when she saw me at the post office. I mean, she practically jumped over the counter when she saw me. And she told me what was going on. She said, "What would you do?" And I said, "Well, I wouldn't take the Fosamax. You could lose your face when you take that." You heard about the necrosis of the jaw and that stuff, I'm sure.
I have,
where,
yeah.
Yeah, it blocks the blood flow to your jawbone. And, anyway.
Yeah.
20,000 people a year lose their jaw taking that medicine.
You're kidding me. Actually,
anyway, there's a more natural way to do it. So I told her what I would do if I were her. I would take some herbs that got strong calcium in them. And so she said, whatever it is, bring it to me. And so she took the product for about 3-4 months, and you don't have to take it every day. It's so concentrated, you take it like 3 times a week. And she right after the holidays, she says, I had another bone density test, and now they tell me I have too much calcium.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I just smiled real big and I said, little bottle, big results. God's herbs are good.
That's awesome. So, wow, when we come back, I want to ask you lots more questions about cholesterol and some things for, herbs, pandemic types of herbs, to put by and all kinds of great stuff. We're with Wendy Wilson from thepowerherbs.com, and we'll be right back in just one moment.
Hi, this is Kate. Thanks for listening to the show. I want to tell you about this product I love called Heal Yourself 101 by Marcus Rothkranz. You can find it at extremehealthradio.com/heal. It's 192 pages, paperback or ebook. If you have any kind of health issues at all, whether you're overweight, having sleeping problems, thyroid issues, diabetes, heart problems, even autism, arthritis, MS, any chronic diseases, stomach issues, think of it as like the owner's manual for staying healthy. Once you learn how the body works, you can just prevent all major disease as well as recover from them without the use of medications that do more damage in the long run than, they do in the short run. So for $29, you can't go wrong. extremehealthradio.com/heal. Get yours today.
All right, we're with Wendy Wilson from thepowerherbs.com. Make sure to check out her website. And before the break, we were talking about calcium. And Wendy, I wanted to find out a little bit more about what's in that formula that you have. I think it's got a couple extra ingredients than the ones that I mentioned.
You're talking about the calcium one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we use the straw and horsetail and the comfrey root and a little bit of lobelia. Lobelia is an excellent herb. Not too many places or herbalists will use that. And because it takes an extra step to utilize lobelia, it's got 16 alkaloids. So you have to age it in 2 different catalysts. So it's an extra step to prepare that, and that's usually why you don't see a whole lot of that out there in the stores. But and we age that, we cold press it. And that's the difference, basically, is you can start with really great ingredients, Justin, but the process is just as important for the end result product. And unfortunately, a lot of the big herb companies out there will do what we call forced extraction methods when they make their liquid products, or known as tinctures and extracts. So it creates a heat when you do that. Okay. And they're able to skip the time it takes to age a product, and they could get an item on the shelf real fast. But it does lower the potency. Heat will definitely affect your herbs. Herbs are very heat and light sensitive, and that's why you see them in the dark amber glass bottles. And your tinctures, if they're made properly, will have a very long shelf life. You can bet on 10, 15 years or more, and you just store them away from heat and light, and they're good.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So how long would someone want to be on something like this to see some noticeable results?
The calcium formula should happen pretty quickly. Like this lady that we talked to, she was on it maybe 3.5-4 months. And she took it 3 times a week, like I told her. It's a concentrate, so it's like that Special K thing again. You're getting a whole lot of it, so you don't need to overdo it. And the body is able to, when you have it in its full-bodied nutritional source, nothing's subtracted from it. It's the way God put it together, in other words. The body's able to utilize only what it needs and void out the residues without any toxic side effects. So that's why natural stuff is so much gentler and easier on the system.
It's so amazing when, people are going to the doctors, and it seems like the doctors are so quick to just implement some very aggressive and very, I guess, just aggressive treatment at the very start. And it just makes so much more sense to try everything in a natural way first, right? And then go into some aggressive treatment right off the bat.
Well, you're absolutely right. Allopathic medicine, your modern medicine, your healthcare system, as we know it today, has its place, in my opinion. It triage, emergency, car accident, you look like Humpty Dumpty, you need somebody, definitely. But when it comes to preventative healthcare issues, they're not the solution, in my opinion. They're more into disease management. So it's addressing symptom, not cause. It's managing the disease for you. You're reliant on whatever prescription or course of treatment they outline for you. And that's scary to me, to be that dependent, like,
right.
Like it's an appendage. It's another limb that you need to get around on. And because, those types of prescriptions, that the body becomes very dependent on them. And you can't just, cold turkey off a lot of those prescriptions. For instance, blood pressure meds. Haven't you ever heard of a relative friend say, I'm on this blood pressure med, and the doctor says, don't ever cold turkey off of this? And do you know why they say that?
Is that because of, I guess, the reactions that would happen when their body, doesn't get access to it, right?
Right. Well, exactly. For instance, the blood pressure meds, your brain will send a chemical signal to the heart when it's not getting enough oxygen-rich blood. And so then the heart will pick up the pace and your blood pressure goes up. Okay. So what happens when you take the blood pressure medicine is that drug blocks that signal that the brain is sending to the heart. So the heart doesn't get the signal, and then it stops pumping so hard. So it artificially lowers the blood pressure numbers. But the problem is your brain is still sending that signal. It's just blocked. And the moment you go off that medicine, you're going to have an artificially strong signal sent right down the central nervous system to the heart, where you can have a heart attack or stroke. So that's the reason they say that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just crazy. Yeah, it's just so...
It's sort of like, the building's on fire, the fire truck rolls up, the firemen, they jump off the truck, and they don't take the hoses off and try to put out the fire. They run into the building real quick, and they disconnect the fire alarm and then run back out and get on the truck and leave. And the building burns down to the ground. So that's basically a scenario of how modern medicine treats symptom, not getting at the cause.
Right. And I think in the end, it really just creates an even greater dependence upon their treatments, because it's not really empowering. You don't walk away from using those types of medicines thinking, oh, I'm empowered. I have a little bit of knowledge. I know how the body works a little bit more. You just become more dependent. You think symptom, and then you think pill, and that's basically it.
Well, and, a lot of people, they it's just how they look at it. I look at natural versus allopathic medicine like horse to water. It's what you believe in, okay? And some people say, I'm relatively healthy. You ask a person, how healthy are you? They'll say, hey, I'm doing great. I'm relatively healthy. And they're on like 3 or 4 prescription meds, and they have to rely on those to function throughout their day. That, to me, is not health.
Right.
But a lot of people, it's the way they look at it. So basically, you have to be really cautious, do your homework on your medicines. Some medicines, or you can maybe use them in a short term to stabilize. But then, if it were me, I'd be researching something else to strengthen that area of the body so it's not weak, needing a pharmaceutical product.
Now, I've heard that herbs, when you said strengthen there, I've heard the analogy that herbs are sort of like your internal workout system. Like you're going to the gym because, a certain herb might might effectively strengthen and tonify a certain organ. And so it's almost similar to like going to the gym internally. Is that kind of how herbs work with their alkaloids and all of that?
Yeah, some herbs are really, really targeted. I have to just marvel at some of the color coding that our creator put together. You know, if you look at a lot of the herbs for the cardiovascular system, the heart, you know, those are red in color. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. It's like the color of blood. So it's really easy to follow along that color coded path when it comes to the heart herbs. But yeah, I mean, you got to be real careful. Like, you know, certain medicines, like for instance, the thyroid meds that people take. And the thing about some of our organs, Justin, is that if you take these drugs, some of these drugs replace the job that the organ was initially to do. And so it takes kind of, you know, it's like, you know, taking your football player and putting them on the bench. You make them sit out of the game, you know? And then after a while, that football player, if he doesn't get a workout, what happens? He loses a lot of his skill, his agility, his strength, and that's exactly what happens to organs like the thyroid. And some organs can even atrophy if they're not going to be put back in the game.
That's interesting. So now, as far as your herbs, what do you think about tonics versus herbs that you would just take for a short period of time? Like you mentioned echinacea earlier. That would that be a tonic or not?
Well, echinacea is an excellent herb for the immune system. It does a wonderful job of stimulating your natural immunity. See, herbs work with your system. So in other words, echinacea is going to stimulate the immune system to manufacture the macrophages, the killer T cells. These are the white blood cells that have a lifespan of 1 day, Justin. Oh, wow. So it speeds that up, and they go out through the bloodstream like bunches of Pac-Man, and they gobble up all the bacteria and viruses, and it shortens your duration of illness. So it's an excellent herb to use when you feel you're under the weather. If you're sick, it'll shorten the duration of illness. You don't want to overuse an herb like echinacea, because if you use it as a preventative, for instance, it's just not going to stimulate you down the road when you have a real serious issue and you need to get over quickly. So kind of reserve your echinaceas for, you know, like your ace in the hole when you're sick. You feel like you're coming down with something. Okay. And just backing up a minute, you were asking about some of these herbs have sort of like a tailored use for the organs. Mm-hmm. One of them would be your milk thistle, which has an antioxidant called silymarin in it. And for some reason, our liver just loves that milk thistle and the silymarin in it, and it utilizes that antioxidant to generate and make new liver cells. Now, initially, our liver regenerates very quickly. It's supposed to if we're living healthy lives, but, you know, we've got pollution and GMOs and alcohol and, you know, fast food. And so we're not regenerating our livers as fast as we should. So if we were healthy, I mean, if you went back in time, and you all the way back to Adam and Eve, let's say, they had a new liver every 30 days. That's how quickly that liver is supposed to regenerate.
Wow.
So you can utilize that milk thistle if you have a fatty liver, or if you have liver issues. I would definitely do your homework on some milk thistle. It's an excellent herb.
Wow. So speaking of the liver, do you take the approach that a lot of people do where, you know, in the health fields, they'll do these really aggressive liver cleanses? Or do you sort of take, you know, substances like herbs to help tonify your liver as it is?
Well, there's a couple of approaches. Actually, we have a couple of approaches to your liver cleanse here at Apothecary Herbs. We have the hardcore approach, if you will, where we do a liver gallbladder flush. That's kind of rough for some people. Mm-hmm. Then we have the step down one that's a little gentler. It's milder but still efficient. So it just depends. If you have gallstones, you'll definitely want to do a flush. Your liver and gallbladder kind of work together in tandem, and they tend to purge their impurities at night while you sleep. So if you suspect your gallbladder has some stones, you'll need to do what we call a flushing, and you can cleanse the liver along with that. If you don't think you have stones, then You can use a little barberry and milk thistle for the liver and the gallbladder, and it's a gentler cleanse. And you had asked me, I think, a moment ago about tonics. Tonics, I love tonics. They're a little bit different approach than tinctures, basically because they're usually not made with alcohol. The tonic we make here, we use the organic apple cider vinegar, and we make what we call our all-in-one. It's a broad spectrum type of tonic. And the ancients used to make tonics like this all the time, even across America when America was, kind of being founded by a lot of settlers. You always had these little towns, and somebody there was making tonics, okay? And I know people kind of like saying, well, isn't that kind of like the snake oil salesman, rolling through the town selling his wares along with a big bottle of tonic, supposed to, be a panacea for everything. Sometimes, but the snake oil story you're probably familiar with was based on, making something that would cure snake bite. And what it was a big bottle of echinacea.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So tonics are great. You can age them and make them just as powerful and almost as strong as a tincture. Sometimes the alcohol is just a bit stronger catalyst at pulling those phytochemicals out of the fibrous parts of your roots and bark and herb and stems and flowers of your herbs. So it just depends on what herb you're using and what your end result needs to be. Interesting.
Wow. So, on your website, I saw a product that I'm really, really interested in because I was diagnosed, I think it was 1991 with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Yeah.
And, sometimes the diagnosis is almost worse than the actual, condition, right? Because it just it scares you your whole life. So, but you have something on your site called the Heart Attack Pack. And my mom had a heart attack a few years ago. And so what is this? And how would we, keep it on hand and how would we use that?
Well, yeah, we came up with that because, some folks, kind of like in remote areas, or they may go camping or hiking and they may, have heart issues and you can't get to emergency room too quickly. Some people may be vacationing relatives and friends and don't know where the emergency room is. So this is kind of a nice little backup until you can get to a hospital to become stabilized if it's real serious, okay? Because we want to be smart. We don't want to be dumb. We want to use common sense, right, Justin?
Right.
So the formulas in there are designed to pull someone out of a heart attack, okay? If they feel the onset of one coming on, to stave off the heart attack. And what it is it's cardiovascular herbs, circulatory herbs are in there, and then also herbs to help with breathing, to dilate the bronchial, because a lot of times when you're having a heart attack, it's hard to breathe. You feel like, your chest gets real tight, so it relaxes the diaphragm muscle and dilates the bronchioles. And also, if someone's unconscious, I've also seen this used. Our herb professor used this once, where he would take those types of herbal formulas anyway and kind of squeeze it into the cheek of the patient who was unconscious and let it go down and make them swallow it, and it would bring the blood flow back into the head, the chest, the area, even when they were looking pretty pale and grayish, so they were on their way out, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot so you can do with herbs, and people are kind of intimidated. I can understand that. It is a learning curve, and but you just want to take it one step at a time and empower yourself with some knowledge and common sense and things like that. So roll up your sleeves, and you'll be amazed what you can do with some of these herbs. And for you. You definitely want to tap into some hawthorn berries, and the hawthorn berries have some really rich flavonoids that the heart muscle likes very much. It also protects the heart muscle from damage should you have a suspension of blood flow and oxygen to it. So, because a lot of people, when they have heart attacks, they'll get damage to the heart muscle, right? Mm-hmm. So the hawthorn berries help prevent that until you can revitalize someone. So your cardiovascular herbs are going to be, your hot cayennes. I'm not talking about, the kind of cayenne you put in your chili, that's kind of 10,000 Scoville heat units. That's not enough. We need something that moves mountains. So we're going to use 250,000 Scoville heat unit. We're going to use habaneros, a little bit hotter than your jalapeno, maybe even your African bird pepper if you can get that. So we got to have power. So that's why we use those.
Okay. So all of those are in that formula?
Yeah, you've got several formulas in that pack. You have the formula designed for the cardiovascular system, and then you have one for breathing, and you have, of course, your hawthorn berries in there. So you've got several things with instructions on how you would give those. We've had a couple of folks that have had those packs send us some feedback saying that they felt like they had the onset of a situation, heart attack, if you will. They had those signs where maybe they had a pain across their back or up their arm, and they took the formulas and it went away. So, wow. You got to be smart, and lifestyle's a big deal. So we tell them herbs are great, but you got to kind of pair it up with a healthy lifestyle because you're reversing damage that's being done.
Yeah, no, that's so helpful because heart attacks or heart disease and cancer are pretty much the number one and number two ways people die. So,
well, they do, Justin, they do cultural studies every year. And every year across the board, there's one area of the world that comes up with 0 or maybe 1 or 2 cases of cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. And that is the area of the Mediterranean. And the reason is their diet. They have lots of antioxidants in their diet. They use olive oil, great oil to use, and even if you cook with it, it resists breaking down when it's heated. So I tell folks, if you just don't know what kind of diet to adopt, go investigate the Mediterranean one.
Yeah, no, that's so helpful. We are with Wendy Wilson from thepowerherbs.com, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we'll talk about, I want to ask you about cholesterol and some possible, herbs for men and women issues. So we'll be right back with Wendy Wilson. I hope you're enjoying the interview so far and getting a lot out of it. I just wanted to tell you really quickly about a program by Chris Kresser called the Healthy Baby Code. And if you haven't heard of Chris Kresser, he's got a blog called chriskresser.com, and he's put together an amazing course on how to have a healthy baby and how to avoid things like autism and childhood diseases. And, a lot of kids get leukemia these days, and it's just, childhood diseases is rampant. And if you're looking to avoid all that and to have the healthiest baby possible, definitely check out the Healthy Baby Code. You can find it at extremehealthradio.com/babycode. And it comes with about 5.5 hours of video presentations. It comes with audio presentations, so you can download them to your iPod. It's got hundreds of pages of resources materials, an ebook, and bonus files. You get all kinds of things like cheat sheets, meal plans, how to breastfeed, how long to breastfeed, natural birthing. He's got the whole thing just covered from A to Z in this course. So I highly recommend, if you're looking to get pregnant or if you already are pregnant, you got to check this out. It's the Healthy Baby Code by Chris Kresser. And again, you can find it at extremehealthradio.com/babycode. Okay, we're with Wendy Wilson from thepowerherbs.com and apothecaryherbs.com. And Wendy, gosh, I feel like I could just speak with you for an hour or a couple hours about these subjects. I have so many questions to get to you. But I wanted to ask you about cholesterol and what your thoughts were about cholesterol. It's a big deal for people these days, especially with all of the medications, doctors are trying to force on people. And
yeah, well, the blood is an interesting thing. It's really living tissue, and we don't tend to think of it like that. We've got the red and the white blood cells and the platelets in there, and diet affects that. Because our bones manufacture the blood, and what we're eating is going to affect how this blood is manufactured and what kind of blood we have. And our blood's mostly water as far as, content, and about 80-90% of it's water. So most people have blood that's much thicker, though, almost the consistency of molasses because of the fat content in there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's diet and how the liver metabolizes fat and how the gallbladder helps break down and absorb fat. So obviously, you might want to look into maybe some organ cleansing of the liver and gallbladder if you tend to have a lot of fat in the blood. And you can tell if you go to your doctor and they draw blood and they spin it down in the centrifuge, and if you've got a lot of fat in the blood, there'll be almost a half-inch thick white layer on the top of the blood in the test tube when they spin it down. So you can ask to see that. But there are lots of herbs, too, that can help defat the blood, but diet's going to be your biggest ally. Diet and exercise, of course, so you can layer in some herbs. I like to use red clover is a great blood detoxer, and I also like to layer that with a little aloe. Mm-hmm. And if you tend to have a little bit of an arrhythmia issue, motherwort herb is excellent for getting rid of the fluttering. So you can kind of use a combination, because it's not really going to be one thing that fixes your health problem. It's going to be a combination of stuff. There really isn't any panacea out there. Now, of course, the ancients thought ginseng was the panacea, and actually it's known as the panax, which means panacea in the Greek. So, but you have to layer in some of your things. Just don't think one thing you're doing is going to fix it all. You have to do a combination of stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, because it's never just one cause or one cure. And it's interesting that the cholesterol issue is such a huge deal, and it's really kind of scary for people, because their doctors will almost, get angry with a patient if they don't take their medication, or, once you do take your medication, then you're almost kind of forced into, continual usage, because the doctor will really get on people.
Yeah, well, cholesterol is necessary, okay? Not all cholesterol is bad. And unfortunately, when you remove a lot of cholesterol with these drugs, you wind up literally having a lot of these cells of the body fall apart, because just about every area of the body taps into cholesterol to use it, hormones and everything. I think one of the best descriptions for the cholesterol and the anti-cholesterol drugs was in a book called Over-the-Counter Natural Cures by Shane Ellison. So if you're on any of those cardiovascular, anti-cholesterol, blood pressure medicines, his book will explain what you're in for down the road. Basically, in a nutshell, you're going to head down to congestive heart failure when you're on those drugs, and you'll get what we call the zipper, where they give you bypass surgery. Mm-hmm. So definitely look into something else, I would say. Lifestyle is going to be a biggie. And here's the thing, when you go over to Europe, and they have higher cholesterol rates over there, but the people don't have the system failures. They may have higher cholesterol, but they have the healthier kind of cholesterol in their system. Mm-hmm. So, they used to have here in the United States a cholesterol rating that was normal at 300 back in the 20s and 30s. Did you know that?
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and then they lowered it to 200, so just about everybody would qualify for a drug.
It's just amazing. I actually heard that, they're trying to get people down to 120, and I think that you need, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that your body can't even make hormones unless your cholesterol is at least 150. Now, I don't know if is that right?
Yeah, you're close. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, Shane Ellison's a chemist. He used to work for the pharmaceutical companies. He'd be a great guest if you haven't talked to him lately. He wrote a book, like I said. I had him on my show. And it's just, he has a great way of explaining the chemistry of it all in layman terms, so that you can wrap your brain about what's happening to you when you take those type of drugs.
Oh, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, because the cholesterol issue, I know, is just such a huge thing. But I wanted to ask you in our remaining minutes about some of the herbs that you can take for men and women, issues. Like, let's start with women, and perhaps pregnancy or PMS or things like that. That herbs for women where they can sort of help mitigate some of those symptoms.
Right. It's the endocrine system is what we're talking about, which has a lot to do with your reproduction and your hormones and ovulating and all those good things. Mm-hmm. Affects your mood, of course, and So there are herbs that help women balance those areas, whether it's, PMS, PMDD, or fertility, wanting to start a family and having trouble, or even later on in life with the menopause, which is a natural transition. So you want to make that a smooth one. Mm-hmm. And so the secret in a nutshell to all that, Justin, is women have to use all 6 of the female herbs. There's 6 of them. Some women will use 1 or 2. Maybe they've used black cohosh or wild jam or viotex berries, but they haven't used all 6. And European women figured that out centuries ago. And this is where John Christopher actually brought that knowledge back when he started his clinic and school here in Utah in the United States. So 6 female herbs, you can look for those in the formulas that we have online. Of course, you're going to be looking at your viotex berries, also known as chaste tree berries, donquai root, Mexican wild jam, Damania leaf, licorice root, hop flower. Those are the 6 that really get the job done.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking on your website, and you have a section called For Women Only, and you've got about 5 products there. And so in those formulas are all of those 6 herbs?
Yeah, in the female formulas, the cycle balancer, the fertility formula, and the maturity formula, they are the same 6 herbs, but the formulation is a little different for each particular use, and the dosage will be different. But of course, you get complete instructions when you use those items, and you can always call and email us if you have questions or concerns. So those are tried and true. These are the formulas that Dr. Christopher had and used in his clinic for 60 years. And then when he retired from clinic, he opened that school saying to himself, well, somebody's got to learn how to do this and carry on. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at formulas, Justin, that have over 60 years of testing and use, which, would make any pharmaceutical jealous,
Yeah.
But yeah, so, they actually work. And the other thing that we have in that section, of course, is that bladder kidney product, because so many women have issues with that. It's unreal. Get rid of the depends, ladies. You can do it.
It is possible.
That's right.
So now I'm looking at the prices here, and are these formulations, would they be good for like a month supply? Is that kind of how it works?
Well, like for instance, on the female cycle balancer, the small bottle, the 1 ounce concentrate, that probably gets you through 2 or 3 months, because you're only going to be taking it for a week once a month. Mm-hmm. When you get to the female maturity one for the menopause issue, you're going to take that as needed. So when you feel a hot flash or, feel a little edgy, you're going to be taking a dose of that. So you're going to probably move through that small bottle on that one a little quicker, and you'll save 20% on the bigger one. Mm-hmm. The female fertility issue, it's sort of like the female cycle balancer. You're only going to be taking it depending on your cycle. We show you how to count that out so that you can hit the ovulation areas and really improve your chances of conceiving. So it depends on what you're using it for and what size you would probably want to get. But we do have the larger sizes that save 20% if you need to work through an issue for several months.
Gosh, this is great. I mean, this is, your money really goes a long way with these things.
Well, we try to keep the costs down and still make an excellent product. We are the manufacturer, and we do sell direct and through our website, catalog, and toll-free number. So we always get asked, where's your store? But, to keep the overhead down, we're just a manufacturer at this point, selling direct to you. Mm-hmm. We do have quite a few wholesale accounts with chiropractors and, naturopaths and things like that. But basically, our core is the end user. Everybody out there just looking for a better way to get it done.
Right. That makes sense. And you've got a Just for Men section on your website when you've got a prostate kit, a male organ cleanse kit, and a hormone tincture.
Yeah, that hormone formula, I got to keep that under lock and key. I still have one teenage son living at home. He doesn't need it, but he uses it for, other things. Uh-huh. Like a Superman. He calls it's my Superman formula. I said, go away. Just just leave it alone. You have plenty of hormones, but it does perk up those folks in the elder age categories that need help with that. The prostate kit, an interesting thing is you can use that to cleanse a prostate as a prevention type of deal, or if you do have a sick prostate, there is a range of doses that we have in that kit, and this is a tea and tincture combo. Like we were getting back to some herbs are better in a tincture infusion, some are better as an aged tincture. This is the best of both worlds. We're using both. Okay. And basically, if you've got a prostate issue, what we're seeing from our male customers is they have to do, if it's a moderate to mild prostate issue, one prostate kit, get it done. It's like $44. And if you have a more moderate to severe prostate issue, then we recommend doing 2 kits back to back to get you where you want to be. Okay,
excellent. And I wanted to ask you too, real quickly, about what are your thoughts on the reishi and the shaga and all those kinds of mushrooms and things like that? Are you a fan of those things?
We don't actually utilize any of those here. I know a lot of people swear by them and stuff. I'm not a big fan of mold, but fungi, if you will. But a lot of people use that. Early on, I decided, I wanted to stay with the herbs that were indigenous to America, and I didn't want to get into Chinese types of medicine because they kind of go outside the herb realm a little bit, and they use insect parts and animal parts and things. So I kind of wanted to stay with the herbs. And here's the reason: if you read your Bible, I read my Bible, God said herbs are here for the service of man in Psalms 104, and I believe him. And he also said in Genesis, the 1st chapter, herbs are meat. So that's how powerful your herbs are nutritionally to the system. It's like a big steak on your plate.
Wow, that's really, really cool. So I'm looking at your website, and you got all kinds of really great stuff. You've got the children's formula. So, I mean, if it's almost like having your own medicine cabinet, but instead of having it filled with drugs, you can have it with all these tinctures.
Right, and we send out info sheets with each and every product because there's just so much information you get on those little labels that, just so much you can get there. So we like to educate our consumer so you know what's happening, why the herb is going to work, how it works, and what kind of, what you can expect. And the rule of thumb for your listeners is if you have a issue you want to correct, you may have been sick a while, it may have taken you a while to develop that condition, and if you want to correct it naturally, give yourself 3 or 4 months to see results. Sometimes, the body takes a little while to turn around. It's like a big cruise ship. It doesn't turn on a dime. So don't get impatient when you're using natural therapies to correct problems. Give yourself some time.
Yeah, I think that's important to know because people get so used to, taking a Tylenol or something and having it work within 5 minutes, Oh
yeah, we should get to the pain inflammatories one day. Your aspirin, acetylsalicylic acid. It's just isolated salicin out of willow bark and meadowsweet. Did you know that? And when you isolate it and you don't have the uptake buffer alkaloids, this is why you get side effects where it interferes with the immune system by lowering fever and you get bleeding and stuff. So you can actually just tap into willow bark and meadowsweet, get the same pain relief, the same anti-inflammatory without all the side effects.
Yeah, and I think that's why you can't combine pharmaceutical medications, right? Because the buffer alkaloids aren't there.
Well, I don't advocate usually mixing your herbs with your pharmaceuticals, with maybe the exception of weaning off one onto something else. Which can be done. We have an instruction sheet we can send out if folks want to learn how to do that. It's up to them to decide, though, because sometimes the body does get dependent on those drugs, and so you want to kind of gently wean off by if you're on a crutch, you don't kick it out. You got to strengthen the body first. So
if people want to contact you, let's say a woman or man is dealing with some sort of specific health condition, they can call you guys up, and you'll be able to walk them through which products they may need.
Well, obviously, I'm not a licensed medical physician, Justin, but I could tell them what I would do if I were them.
Right.
And yeah, we do educate people on how to properly use your herbs, doses by weight for kids. Sometimes, just the average. Everybody has a different tolerance level sometimes. So the average dose, which is 1 dropper full, 32 drops, which equals about 1/4 of a teaspoon, may not be enough for other people, and they may need more of that, whereas some people may need less. And that's why the liquids are so easy to adjust those doses on. So if you've got some feedback, you want to run it by us, I could tell you what I would do if I were you.
Okay, excellent. That's great. A great resource for our listeners. So, and in closing, I wanted to ask you, what kinds of books would you recommend people read to just sort of get a kickstart on their learning about herbs?
Oh, there's tons of books out there right now. It just depends if you want. Some books are very targeted. You could go to your bookstore. I've seen them where it's all about heart health. Natural stuff for heart health. Actually, Ty Bollinger has a couple of books out. One's on cancer called Cancer Step Outside the Box. He's the host of Cancer Truth Chronicles. He also writes for our newsletter, American Survival, that's on our website. That's a free subscription if people want to sign up for that. And he's got a new book coming out with Dr. I'm trying to think of Dr. Michael, his last name, Farley. So they're going to be a guest on my show. Maybe you can have them on your show. They got a new book coming out too. So there's lots of stuff out there, lots of answers to many, many health problems. Like in Ty's book, there's not just one cure for cancer. There's hundreds.
Right.
Hundreds, So, just kind of walk down the aisle of your bookstore, whatever hits your eye. Sometimes there's very generic and general books, and some are more targeted.
Okay, excellent. And in closing, what directions are you headed? Are you going to be formulating any new products, or where are you headed with Apothecary Herbs?
Oh, we always have new products. People give us feedback over the years. Of course, our niche is immune boosting and organ cleansing, Justin. But over the years, we kept hearing, hey, don't you have anything for cholesterol and blood pressure and diabetes and prostate and, PMS? So we've added over the years some things. We just came out with something that came up for me personally. A friend of mine had a dog that was kind of hyper or anxious. So we have a new anti-anxiety hyper formula for pets. It's on our website, and it works really great. Does not sedate your pet, but it just takes the edge off, and they calm down.
Oh, excellent. Wow. We'll send people to there. It's the powerherbs.com, and make sure to check out Wendy Wilson's website. Wendy, would you mind staying on after I close out the show?
Sure.
Okay, one moment. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you got a lot of value out of this show. And I just wanted to ask you a favor from you, if it's possible, and you really enjoyed this show, would you be able to click the like button on this show page, which is extremehealthradio.com/16, and follow us on Facebook as well. That would be a great way to support us as well. And we also have a store on our website with lots of great products too, and we'll make a commission if you buy any of those products. So don't forget to check our store out. And also, if you decide and want to donate, we're 100% listener supported. So if you would want to donate as little as $1, we would really, really appreciate that. Another way to support us too would be to visit our site first before you go and purchase something on Amazon, and we'll get a little commission out of that. So those are all